carbon chassis or an aluminum chassis? What should I choose for the upcoming carpet season? What to do with the weight balance, the batteries, the setup? I don't know, it's so confusing. Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the ToniSport Newsfeed. Today we want to talk a little bit about the upcoming indoor season. It's that time of the year where almost everybody in most of the countries is converting the car from the outdoor season to the indoor season. There are a lot of different things you have to do. You have to change, you have to check, and today we just want to talk a little bit about the most important things when you refresh your car for the upcoming indoor season. It is not a video where we will go into details concerning the setups, because that is something which is super car specific and also depends on the tires and the carpet and the traction of the carpet you are running on. But there are some basics which you always should keep in mind when you change from asphalt to carpet. And I would say let's get the video started. We talk about some things, and I hope that you will enjoy the video. Let's go. So first things first, guys, when you will now take your car completely apart and build it up freshly with some fresh fluids and some fresh parts maybe for the indoor season. The first question which will pop up in your head is which chassis blade to use, aluminum or carbon fiber. I think 10 years ago it was not a big deal, not a question, because everybody was running carbon fiber chassis. Aluminum chassis, they didn't really exist at this time in 1/10 scale touring car racing. But then there was kind of a trend coming up with the aluminum chassis, especially when we were running with the rear motor cars. These aluminum chassis, they worked better for some years on carpet compared to the carbon fiber chassis, and everybody was running aluminum. Nowadays with the mid-motor touring cars, it seems like you can get the car dialed in perfectly with both chassis combinations, with aluminum or with carbon fiber. In general, it is always kind of a setup thing. You can find a perfect setup for both of these chassis types. You just have to work on it. And in the end, it's not easy to say which chassis is faster on which surface. But there are maybe some small things we can point out as kind of a rule of thumb. An aluminum chassis is heavier than a carbon fiber chassis. In this case here, I just checked those plates, and it's a 35 gram difference. So the aluminum chassis is more heavy, which means that the center of gravity will be lower compared to the carbon fiber chassis. The aluminum chassis has a less flex, so the car will be a little bit stiffer compared to the carbon fiber plate, which is always a little bit more flexible. So in general, you will build your complete car on a completely different base of material and flex. When you're driving on the track and your setup is perfect, it can always be on the same pace with both types of chassis plates. Nowadays it looks like a lot of modified drivers are running with a carbon chassis again with their mid-motor touring cars, but some of them also use the aluminum chassis. In the stock class, I think a little bit more of the guys are running aluminum plates. I think one of the main reasons is that the aluminum chassis can maybe carry a little bit more corner speed, which is super important for stock racing, because it will not flex that much into the corner, and it will not drag or will not break the car down as much as a carbon fiber chassis is doing. And modified is sometimes can be a benefit when you have a car which has a good amount of natural drag into the corners. So this is something which maybe can be the difference. But overall, I can say when you're running stock and you have both chassis blades at home, maybe give the carbon fiber chassis a try during a practice day, compare it to your aluminum chassis. But in the end, I would tend to maybe run aluminum when you're running stock classes. But sometimes it might be possible that you can be faster with a carbon fiber chassis, especially when you arrive at a track where the carpet is new, the traction is low, and where you maybe don't have super high amount of entries. This is also something important, because the amount of drivers during the weekend, they are responsible for the traction on the carpet. So it might be possible that sometimes a carbon fiber chassis can be better for all classes, but in general I would say go with aluminum for stock and maybe with carbon fiber for modified, but you also can dial in the car with vice versa chassis plates. So it's not a big deal. Always keep in mind that there's a weight difference, and you have to check the weight of your car and the balance compared to the chassis you are using. This is the first important step when you build up your car now freshly for the indoor season. So when you take your car completely apart and build it on a maybe fresh plate, even if you use the same chassis plate as before, just check the chassis plate that it's still straight, that it's not completely bent or completely worn out from the hard outdoor season. So the chassis should always be absolutely flat on the setup board. And in the next step, it is also something to recommend that you check all the parts which get bolted directly onto the chassis, because they have to be straight as well. So check your bulkheads, check that they are not bent in any way. The same is with the motor mount. Make sure that it's still flat and straight, because every single part which you bolt on the chassis plate, when it's a little bit bent, it will detweak your chassis plate and your car will not be straight, and you will notice that during driving the car will never handle as perfect as it will do when everything is straight. So check all the parts which you're mounting directly onto the chassis, and also check all the other parts such as the lower suspension arms when they are made from carbon fiber, if they are straight. You can also check the sway bars if they are not bent and stuff like that. Make sure that every single part you are using is in a good shape and is not completely bent, and then you can be pretty sure that you will build a car which is straight from its platform, from the base. And this is something very important to get a perfect car then for the carpet season. So the next thing we want to talk about is the drivetrain. As you can see here on the table, a lot of different parts from the drivetrain. A long outdoor season is very stressful for all the parts you need for your car's drivetrain. So please check all the parts of your drivetrain. If they are in a good shape, just clean everything, take the drive shafts apart and build them up once again with fresh grease, fresh oil. And if you're not sure about it, just replace them with maybe a new set of drive shafts, or just replace these kind of plastic plates when your car uses them. This is super important. And in the same moment, you also should check the outdrives of your spool and of your gear differential. Also something which is very important, because the outdrives and the drive blades and the shafts all together, they ensure a car which is accelerating in an efficient way, which is stable under braking. Your car needs to create a good amount of chassis roll, and you want your car to roll smooth and in a perfect way through the corners. So therefore the whole drivetrain package must be in a good condition. The same with the drive belts. Just check the conditions of your drive belts teeth, and when you think that they are worn out too much, just replace the drive belts. You can use the standard belts. In most of the cases they are from Bando, which are in a very good quality. And there are also some low friction drive belts available from different brands. For example, here I have the MR33 low friction drive belts. They are white and also made from Bando, and they are a little bit softer in material. And the benefit from these drive belts, especially in the stock classes, is that your drivetrain will have less resistance. You will have a better chassis roll, more efficiency under accelerating and stuff like that. So these belts are highly recommended for indoor carpet racing when you're running stock classes. You also can use them in modified, but then you maybe have to change them from time to time, and you have always to take care about your belt tension in modified, because these belts will have a little bit more stress when you're running modified with them, but it works fine in the end as well. So all these drivetrain components are very important. Just check them. The same with the spur gear and the pinion gear. Sponsor your car some fresh stuff for the upcoming indoor season, and then you should be good to go, and you will have a car which runs smooth and very, very nice on the track. That's super important. Another tip is concerning the shocks. Normally you will also rebuild your shocks completely. You want to fill them up with fresh oil and clean everything. And in this case, you should replace the O-rings, because normally they will pick up a lot of dirt and debris during the outdoor season. And in the same moment, I also would replace the bladders of the shocks, which you are placing on the shock oil before you close the shock cap. The bladders and the O-rings, super important to check for your car and for the upcoming indoor season. So now let's talk a little bit about electronics, especially about the batteries. Normally when you're running stock classes on outdoor tracks, you use batteries with higher capacities, such as, for example, 8100 or 8000 milliamps. So these batteries are normally a little bit thicker and heavier. For indoor racing, a lot of drivers are going a little bit down with the capacity, something like a 6000 for the stock classes, because it has enough punch and will have a lower center of gravity for the carpet racing as the pack is more flat. So if you're running stock and you're going down from a higher capacity LiPo to maybe a 6000 battery, just keep in mind that this battery pack is around 30 to 40 grams lighter, so you have to take care about your weight balance in the car. A lot of drivers using these scale, these corner weight systems and stuff to check the weight balance, and you have to keep that in mind when you are changing the battery while you are running still in a stock class. The same is for modified. As you can see here, on outdoor tracks you are running the standard size 2S packs, but nowadays most of the modified drivers, they are switching to shorty packs when the indoor season starts, and therefore it's also super easy to see. This pack is so low and so small, and around 100 grams lighter than the standard pack, and therefore you also have to keep in mind that you need some ballast weight on the battery side. For example, these kind of brass weights, which are available for most of the cars nowadays, and you mount them together with your super light shorty, and this results in a much lower center of gravity in your car, and you can really feel that on the track. So what I want to say is, when you build your car fresh for the indoor season and you will use the same electronics, a lot of guys changing batteries, and therefore you have to keep that in mind, that you have to deal with the weight balance from left to right, from front to rear. And when we're now talking about the weight balance in general, it is also maybe interesting that normally on outdoor tracks you're running a little bit more heavy in the rear, like maybe 52% or 51.5, 51, and only 49 or 48 in the front. This results in a car which has a little bit more aggressiveness, a little bit more corner entry steering. But on carpet, when the traction goes up, we are sometimes going to a kind of a 50-50 balance to get a little bit more weight over the front, which makes the car easier to drive. The car feels a little bit more smooth and is a little bit more pushy, but overall it makes the car faster and more easier to drive over the 5 minutes on carpet. So just check your front rear weight balance for carpet and maybe go to a 50-50 or 49-51 weight balance, but don't go too heavy in the rear. It will make your car too difficult to drive on carpet then. Okay, the next one I want to talk a little bit about is the body shell and the position on the car. There are a lot of body shells on the market which are performing great, so it's not possible to point out one or two body shells which are better than all the others. That's not possible at the moment. But one very important thing is the position of the body shell on your car. You can mount the body shell in the neutral position, but most of the time when we're running outdoors on asphalt, we mount the body shell a little bit more positioned to the front, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeter forwards from the neutral position. For carpet racing that also can work out, but in certain conditions when the traction is crazy high and the car seems to be a little bit difficult or edgy to drive, it is better to have a body shell which is mounted a little bit more in the standard and neutral position. So always keep that in mind. And maybe your outdoor body shells are a little bit damaged and you want to paint some new ones for the indoor season. Just keep in mind how you will drill the holes for the body shell position in your car. You can look on the setup sheets of the top drivers which are running the car of your choice, and then you will maybe find something which you can use to orientate yourself. Another thing about the body shell, when you're running indoors, it's always good to run with a super light body shell with a 0.5, 0.6 millimeter body, because the car will react better, it will change the directions faster, and it will feel more free, especially when the traction on the track gets higher and higher. The cars, they sometimes tend to traction roll, and with a lightweight body shell your car is not willing to traction roll that quickly, and it's always a little bit faster. But there are also some racing series where you have to run 0.7 body shell in some classes. For example, at the ETS in the 17.5 and in the 40 plus Masters class, there are no lightweight body shells allowed, and there you have to find the perfect setup which is working with the 0.7 millimeter body shell. And this is what I have to point out concerning the body shells on carpet. So guys, last but not least, I just want to talk a little bit about the general setup things, which I will not talk about here in details in this video clip, because the cars nowadays, they are very different from manufacturer to manufacturer, and all the teams have their different approaches to find the perfect setups for carpet as well. You have so many options to set up your car for the carpet tracks, like the roll center, the shock springs, the shock oil, the droop, the flex, all these things you can change on your car. If it's maybe your first indoor season, just check some setup sheets from the drivers you know from your area, where you know that their cars are running good on the track. And try some setups from the guys, or maybe message some other drivers in the social media channels. I think there are always a lot of guys trying to help you out. But in general, sometimes the setup is not so far away from an outdoor setup, but as it is super sensitive nowadays, there are a lot of things you can try with your car, and therefore it is super important to practice as much as you can on carpet, to get used to the feeling to drive on these high bite tracks. You can do some fine adjustments with your electronics, with your brakes, with your steering expo, and all these things. It is a lot of things you can do. Another thing is the additive and the tire preparation, which is also very important. And for all these different setup things, we produced some ToniSport Newsfeed videos in the past about the roll center, the springs, the shocks, the tire preparation, tire additive, timing, and all these things. So just check out our YouTube channel and watch some of our video clips from the past, and there you can learn something about all these small details. But in general, what I wanted to say to the end of this video right now is that it is important that your car is prepared in a perfect way, as we talked in the minutes before right now. Make sure that everything is good, and then you can start with a fresh rebuilt car into your indoor season, and then you will normally easily be possible to find a good setup which works good for your driving style and for the track you are racing on. So guys, that's our video for today. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it for you. There's quite a lot of things you have to care about when you go from outdoor to indoor racing, but I hope that some of these things will help you out in the next couple of months. I hope that you will enjoy the indoor season with maximum fun. We hope to get in as much racing as possible in these days. And I would like to point out a big thank you to everybody of you supporting our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel until now, just do it. Make sure that you sign up and that you also activate the bell. Then you will never miss any kind of ToniSport Newsfeed videos in the future. Thank you for watching. Enjoy RC racing, and until the next time, race with ToniSport. You will never race alone. Goodbye, guys.